Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Training Unleashed. Before we begin, I want to thank my sponsors, C-Suite TV and C-Suite Radio. And on behalf of the Learning Network, I want to welcome everyone to the show. Also remind everyone, if you go to YouTube, you can watch us on YouTube. Google Training Unleashed Network. Okay, our guest today is Bob Carrothers. Bob Carrothers is with Vistage, and they are the world's largest trainers of CEOs and executives, which is a pretty extreme, pretty bold and powerful statement. So we're really happy to have you, Bob. So, Bob, I'm a huge believer in personal growth.
Right.
And I know Vistage has a tremendous reputation, but I'd like to get some insight on you because you've been with Vistage for a long time. What was your inspiration? Why did you say, for me, I want this? And what did you find? And what were the surprises maybe that you found?
Well, when I was a CEO, I didn't have anybody to talk to. I was out there philandering. I started a company and I was growing it, but I really didn't know what I was doing, and I was kind of winging it. And that was scaring the heck out of me. And I needed input from others. So that's why I knew I had to grow to get better to reach my goals as a business person.
So Bob, what you're saying makes great sense.
Hmm.
And I'm a big believer in networking and big believer in peer groups.
Right.
I totally agree with you. Yet most people don't do it.
Hmm.
I know lots of CEOs that are not part of peer groups that are not doing it. What is it that limits people? What are the resistance factors that you've come across?
Well, sometimes it's arrogance, not very much. They don't think they need help. Other times it's they don't know where to go for help. They don't think they're broken, which is crazy. They think they know it all. They think they know enough to get by, or they're just not willing to be vulnerable enough to put themselves out there and say, hey, guys, I need help.
Well, I think that second part is really big because I do agree with you completely that there's arrogance
Right,
and they feel like I'd add that they might say they're too busy.
right,
You hear that a lot, but I think it's fear of being vulnerable
right.
or fear of being caught being a fraud because they don't believe it themselves.
Yeah.
So someone joins Vistage or joins any peer group. Typically, what is it that they experience that maybe they wouldn't expect or didn't realize how powerful it would be?
Well, I think the first thing they realize, and I've heard this a hundred times with new members that come into groups, is, hey, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one that had these problems. And it's like a weight off their shoulders, realizing that a lot of the stuff that's going on is very, very common. So they start to become more vulnerable, which kind of opens them up and makes it work for them.
So what I'm hearing you say is that people don't realize that what they have, which they think is unique to them,
Right.
isn't as unique as they think it is.
Hmm.
And they become more open and more vulnerable as they start to realize that other people are in the same shoes they are.
That's right. Exactly. And it's not always about business. I brought in some members one day to a meeting. When we bring in a new member, we ask them to come and spend the day with us and play with us, play full out and show themselves and try to be as vulnerable as they can. And they'd happen to show up on a day when one member was announcing to the group that he just learned he had stage 4 cancer, stage 4 stomach cancer, and he didn't know how to handle it. And he just wanted to talk. And the group was, you know, I mean, we were there for him and we just talked through it. And the new member was looking at this going, whoa, this is not what I thought it would be. These are real human beings in here. Another member that day happened to be going through a divorce. So we had a discussion on that. And it just helps people realize that business is not all just business, it's the whole person. It's the holistic approach that we take to. And I think when members come in and see that, they naturally feel open to be more vulnerable themselves. And it works. It just works better.
So I know that in Vistage, it was founded with the idea of CEO groups, and I know that you do those.
Right.
But I know that you guys have shifted in addition to CEO groups, you're doing key people groups.
Hmm.
And I really love this idea because, developing people is the job of every leader in an organization. Maybe talk about this because I think a lot of people don't realize that there are peer groups designed for people that are not the CEO of the group. What are they like and how do they work?
Well, we have CEO groups, and the next stage down is key executive groups, which are the direct reports to CEOs. And they are in peer groups because they have to manage up and manage down, where CEOs only manage down. So the key person often is dealing with a CEO that's a little difficult to deal with, and they need some help with that. And so other members of the group can share their experiences and thoughts and help them understand what it is to be in that position and to improve as they go. And because these memberships are usually over several years, they learn from the other members when they see their other difficult situations, and whatever it is, personal, like we're saying, or business, and they can draw on each other's experience to make them more successful.
If you're a CEO, how do you determine whether it makes sense for somebody to be part of a peer group, a key person peer group? What's the criteria? What are the candidates that are the good candidates for participating?
Well, normally the CEO says this person could be better. They're a little off in their people skills, or they don't quite understand, or I'm not working well with them. And I think they could use some help with this. And so they will usually say, let's put them in the key group and let them work on him and help him and share their experiences. And then we think he'll get better.
It's interesting you say this, Bob, and I have no doubt what you're saying is right, but my gut is the exact opposite.
Okay.
My gut is you take the people that are in your key group and you say, who are the rising stars that can handle more, that
Mm-hmm.
can get to that next level? And I want
Mm-hmm.
to reward them for joining and being part of this peer group because the ones that are struggling, maybe they need more specific coaching or help on certain skill levels where peer group is more to me like a reward. Is this making sense or
No, it makes tons of sense, and it's exactly right. It can be for either reason. Often is because they see them as the heir apparent or whatever, and they want to reward them, one, for being with the company and their everything they're doing, but also to help them sharpen their skills to move in that role.
I think it would be kind of fun for everyone in the audience. If you think back on the one person that joined Vistage that got the most out of it, share with us sort of like where are they at and what happened once they became a member of the group and how it impacted their business.
Yeah, one story top of mind, and he's still in my group, is he started out in my key exec group. His CEO was in my CEO group, and he said, we were talking about future leadership and how he was grooming his people, and he said, I have one fellow that I think is my next heir apparent. And he says, I think he could gain a lot from your group. And so we put the gentleman into the key group. He was there for a while. He's now CEO of the company. The company was purchased by a PE firm, and now he's president of the division of that company. So it's definitely been a success story. We've had 13 CEOs come out of that key group to date.
Wow.
Hmm.
So the audience doesn't know this, but you manage one key group.
Yeah.
How many people do you have in a key group, Vistage group? What's the typical size?
16 is what we like. Usually they'll run from 13 to 18. I like 18 because as busy as people are now, we don't always get 18. We never get 18 at a meeting. We get 16 or 15, something like that.
But what I think is amazing is you've had the group for a while, and yes, there's turnover and people that leave and people that come.
Yeah,
But 13 of those people have stepped up into a higher executive role, been promoted.
right.
That's to me very impressive.
Hmm.
Okay. Hey there, listeners. Time to take your training to the next level. The Learning Network has come out with Breeze, which is an online authoring tool. This is, like its name, a breeze. It is so easy to create engaging content your learners are going to love. But more importantly, you'll create content that will truly be memorable and truly retained by your listeners. Go to learning.net, schedule a demo, and check out Breeze. So, what are the traits of the really best members and how they take advantage of the group? And what are the traits of the people that don't succeed in a peer group that, go there? I mean, I can guess, so I don't want to guess. I'm asking you the question. What's the difference between the people that go in and make it really successful and the people that go in and don't get as much as they should get out of it?
Okay. The people that are really successful are the ones that want to grow. They realize they don't have all the answers. They want help. They have plenty of knowledge to share. So they're great at doing that, but also they want to get better. And by when they join the group, they participate fully. They bring topics to the group for discussion. They take notes on the speakers. They institute things the speakers tell them, or they file them away for another day. And 6 months down the road, I'll see them say, "Hey, I just put that into play." So they take advantage of every facet of that group to really grow and get better. And I can tell when I go, I do coaching sessions with each one of them, and I can tell how enthusiastic they are about what they're learning because they'll say to me, "Hey, I was thinking about this and I think this may work here. Let's talk about it." Or whatever. And it's exciting to work with those type of people.
So, what you're saying is the people that are really successful are committed to learning,
Right.
they're showing up, they're
Hmm.
participating at a high level, and they're contributing content themselves.
Absolutely.
They're all in.
All in fully.
Okay, let's talk about the people that don't succeed. What are their common traits?
Well, there's the main one is ego that I see that come in, and I haven't had this problem in a long time, but when I see them in other groups where they come in and they think they have all the answers, and the group is beneath them, and they can't see how they could learn anything from the group. Other kinds they're there to sell people in the group, which is not what we're about, and they don't last long when they find out that doesn't work, and or they don't feel they measure up to the group, which is crazy. Everybody's got great things to say and great opinions. And so those are the things I work on. The big egos I try to never let in the door.
You know what's interesting about what you just said
Hmm.
is you said that either the people that have a huge ego
Right,
or the people that have low self-esteem.
right,
That's the two extremes that tend to fail, which makes sense.
right,
But then
right,
you said something at the very beginning, and I want to go back to this because I thought this was intriguing. And this shows your experience and your expertise. Is you said, I haven't had one of those in a really long time.
right. I haven't.
What do you do to know? How do you tell when you're talking to people and you're recruiting people? How do you notice the people that you think? And before you answer the question, I want all the people listening to recognize that what Bob's about to describe are things you look for when hiring people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a person that's going to be good in a Vistage group, because you don't want people too big an ego in a company. You don't want people too little an ego in a company. You want people committed to learning. What's your secret sauce on finding the right people?
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of it's just the questions I ask.
So what are some of the questions?
If I ask them, tell me about a time when you made a mistake in your career, or tell me about a bad decision you've made in the last 2 years as CEO. And you'll hear them say, well, I haven't made any bad decisions, or I've never had a tough time. That to me is a huge red flag. The ones that say, yeah, oh, and that one was a doozy, let me tell you about it. And this is what it cost me. Then that's a different kind of person. And it's just simple tells like that. Low self-esteem is just different questions. It's just, I guess I've developed a sense for it over time. But normally, low self esteem won't show up to want to join a group because they figure that everybody else is better than them, or they just demonstrate it after, maybe they come into the group and it's not working and I have to ask them to leave. But like I said, the one I had that comes to mind is he felt that so much of the group was so much better than he was because they were talking about all their successes and he was going through a hard time and he wasn't having the successes. So I don't know if it's low self-esteem, but he just felt like he didn't fit in. And boy, since that one happened, we don't allow that to happen anymore. It's in my group, it's business is like a river. It's up and down all the time. It's winding bends, and somebody's up and somebody's down, and we help the people that are down when they need it. And so we've kind of eliminated that. But those are the kind of things that come to mind.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's interesting. I think people that don't fail don't take risks.
Exactly.
And then their failure is the opportunities they missed.
Right.
I have a saying that I've tried to live by my entire career. The older I get, the more I concern whether the saying should still be valid. But I
Mm-hmm.
like to say, I hope my biggest failure is yet to come,
Uh-huh.
because if it isn't yet to come, it means I've given up trying.
I love that quote. That's great.
So, Bob, I'm sure people listening would love to know more about you, what you do, more about Vistage. So please, share with everybody.
Okay. Well, like like Evan said, I'm a Vistage chair, which means I operate Vistage groups. I facilitate and lead those groups. Vistage is a worldwide organization that brings business executives. Our main focus is on CEOs. We bring them into a meeting once a month for a full day. Half the day we'll bring in an expert speaker, and the rest of the day they will throw things out to each other that they are finding challenging or whatever that they would like input from the group on, or just to share things with the group that are working. And by that, they learn that maybe their questions need to be, I mean, their answers need to be questioned to some of their things. We like to say it's where you go to get your answers questioned.
Bob, if I could say something else from my
Right,
peer group experience,
right.
a lot of times, I have questions I want answered. But what I
Hmm.
find is when other people ask questions, I go, that's a question I should have,
Right.
right? Because I didn't know, I was unaware. But
Hmm.
when they start sharing their stuff, I start thinking, oh yeah, maybe I have
Yeah,
that issue. Maybe
yeah.
maybe that's a good question I should be listening to the answer to.
That's right. I think the members learn more from topics that are discussed that aren't their own topics. It's, the things they kind of make a note on. I should pay attention to this. But through all of that, they find they make better decisions, they get better results, their companies grow faster, their home lives are better, they become better spouses because they just learn how to be better leaders, whether it's at home or in their business.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
great.
Hmm.
How do people reach you if they want to connect with you, Bob?
Well, the best way is my email address, which is B Carruthers, and that's Carrothers at Vistage, Vistage chair.com. I've also got a link in my LinkedIn website that takes you to a sign up form for Vistage. Really, all that is just leave us your information and we'll get back to you. It's not an actual application until you make it that way. And so don't be afraid of that. But if you are, just send me an email.
And it's Bob Carruthers. Do you want to spell Carruthers one more time for people?
Yeah, Carrothers. Bob.Carruthers or B Carruthers, either one. But let's just say Bob.Carruthers at vistagechair.com.
So, Bob, always love ending the show with somebody, our guest, sharing one tip, one best practice, one thing, one piece of advice they think everyone should hear.
It's not wrong to be vulnerable. It's not a sign of weakness. Actually, it's a sign of strength. So if you decide to go down this path to join a group, you'll really find out what that means. Or if you're just leading a company and think you don't have to be weak, you have to always be strong, it's baloney. Just it's okay to be vulnerable.
I really love that. And I think it's an important thing that it's not just vulnerable in business, but vulnerable in life.
Right.
Let the world in. Let people really see who you are.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, Bob, on behalf of the Learning Network, thank you for being a guest. Want to thank, of course, the audience for either listening or watching. Thank our sponsors, C-Suite TV and C-Suite Radio, and remind people to go to our YouTube channel, Training Unleashed Network, and watch our shows. Everyone have a great day.